Hello, third graders. This is Math Expressions 2018, third grade, Unit 4, Lesson 3. Our learning target for today is students will locate fractions on a number line. The page that I have here is 249 all the way through 252. And I'm going to peek at the check for understanding here. Complete the sentence. The two fractions used to find 1 on the number line in problem 23 are blank and blank. And I don't know why my numbers show up wonky on here, but I think that's it right there. Okay, going back up to the top, let's look at the directions here. So in this first part, we're going to locate fractions less than 1. I want you to notice that on these number lines on this page, we have 0 and 1 both labeled for us. Remember that a unit fraction is one of the equal parts in a fraction. Divide each number line into the correct unit fractions, then label each point. Show the target fraction by looping the unit fractions that make it. This is very similar to what lesson 2 was about. In fact, I believe this is where it was left off. So let's go ahead and change our font for the drawing. Here we go. Blue works for me. Okay, so in order for us to divide each number 1's number line into the correct unit fractions, I have to look at the denominator. My denominator is a 4, and that tells me there will be 4 equal parts between 0 and 1. So I'm going to draw lines to make 4 equal parts. And double check. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Is it perfect? No, it's not, but it's good enough for what we're doing today. Then, just like yesterday, we're going to label each point with the unit fraction and show how it progresses. So we're going to start right here with 0, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Step 3, we're going to loop the unit fraction that makes our target fraction listed. So 1/4 is the unit fraction, and I only have to circle one of those sections. Number 2, look at the denominator. We have a denominator of 8, which means we need 8 equal sections in between 0 and 1. So I'm going to do that. All right. Step 2, label each point. Notice that my denominator is always the same as that target fraction. Okay. And again, 1/8 is also a unit fraction, so I'm going to loop one section. If you remember doing this yesterday and you don't need my help, you could skip ahead a little bit to find when I'm done with this. But if you need to follow along, you could stay tuned in. Number 3, my denominator tells me that I need 4 equal parts in between 0 and 1. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to label the unit fractions. I'm going to label each point. And finally, I'm going to loop that target number that we've been given, 3/4. Well, I can see that 3/4 is right here. So I'm going to loop in 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Number 4, the denominator tells me that it's a 6, that there are 6 equal parts in between 0 and 1. So I'm going to divide my number line into 6 equal parts. Now I'm going to number, I don't like the way that looks. I'm going to number the points after I fix that one. Number the points on my number line. All good. Step 3, I'm going to loop the sections to represent my target number of 5/6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5. My denominator tells me that there are 3 equal parts in between 0 and 1. So I'm going to divide my number line to make 3 equal parts. Step 2, I'm going to label each point. Remember, right now our denominator has not changed because that's telling us how many equal parts are in between 0 and 1. Our target number is 2/3. And so we are going to circle what the numerator is telling us, 2 sections. 1/3, 2/3. Well done. Now let's move on and look at something a little more complicated. Number 6 wants us to plot the target fractions 2/3 and 5/6 on one number line, on this number line below. Now, up until now, we've looked at the denominator to know how many different equal parts we need on our number line. But now we have 2 denominators. So what I'm going to do is use 2 different colors. The first one, 2/3, has a denominator of 3. So I'm going to first divide this number line into 3 equal parts and label it. Now I'm going to use another color. Let's use bright green. And I'm going to divide the same number line into 6 equal parts because this denominator is 6. So we want this number line to have 6 equal parts. All right. Now in green, I am going to label the number line. I think I'm going to label it above. I'm going to label it above. Let me erase that right there. I'm going to label it above so that you can see where the green dots are. Notice that at 1/3 and 2/3, they overlap. All right. Now I'm going to choose a different color. I'm going to choose red, and I'm actually going to make my dot just a little bit bigger so you can see it better. The directions were to plot the target fractions 2/3 and 5/6 on the number line. So let's find 2/3 first. And I'm going to put that right there. That's 2/3. And the next one is 5/6. So I'm going to plot that right there on the number line. We have correctly plotted both 2/3 and 5/6. Let me see if I can highlight that for you so that you could see it a little bit better for yourselves. So here is where 2/3 is, and here is where 5/6 is. Now we're going to be locating fractions that go beyond 1, that are greater than 1. And we have a new vocabulary term here. We have something that is called a mixed number. So let's look that up. Mathisfun.com. I love this dictionary. So I'm going to go into the dictionary and I'm looking up mixed number. So I'm going to go into the M. Let's see here. Where are you at? Mixed fractions, mixed number. So a mixed number is when you have a whole number and a fraction combined into one mixed number. So for example, 2 1/3, 1 1/2. You guys notice how I'm using that word and here? That's something that if you've been in my classroom, I've told you not to use the word and when you're saying a number. Well, today's the day that that changes. 1 1/2, 2 1/3 are examples of mixed numbers. A whole number and a fraction combined into one number. So our directions are very much the same, but we want to be a little more careful here because our labels have changed. We don't just have 0 and 1. So for example, look at number 7 here. We've got 0, 1, and 2. Number 8, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to have to take care when we are dividing our number line into the correct unit fractions. We're still going to do that, and we're still going to label each point, and we're still going to show the target fraction by looping the unit fractions that make it. So let's look at number 7 to see how this plays out here. My denominator tells me that there are 4 equal parts in between 0 and 1. So I'm going to change that. I am going to make 4 equal sections between 0 and 1. But I'm also going to make 4 equal sections between each whole number. So not only in between 0 and 1, but also between 1 and 2. In between each whole number, you have to have the same amount, the correct number of unit fractions. And for number 7, our denominator tells us that there are 4 equal sections. So let's double check. In between 0 and 1, do we have 4 sections? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we do. In between 1 and 2, do we have 4 sections? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we do. Okay, now we need to label each point, and we're dealing with fourths. Okay, don't forget that. So we've got 0, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Keep going. 5/4, fourths, 6 fourths, 7 fourths, 8 fourths. So all together here, we have 8 fourths. That's the same thing as 2. Now we're going to go back and we're going to loop up to 5 fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very much like what we did on the other page, only this time our fractions are greater than 1. Okie dokie. Number 8. Let's take a look at our denominator. In between each whole number, we have 3 equal sections. So between 0 and 1, we need 3 equal sections. In between 1 and 2, we need 3 equal sections. In between 2 and 3, we need 3 equal sections. Label 0, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3. Oh, why did I put a 7? I got excited. 6/3, 7/3, 8/3, 9/3. There we go. And our target fraction is, looking at the numerator, we want to do 8/3. So let's loop in all the way up to 8/3. 1 section, 2 sections, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you see 1 way back here? There's 1 way back there. This number is greater than 1, but it's less than 3. 8/3 is in between the whole number 2 and the whole number 3. Now, wait a minute. Number 9, they've already numbered for us. Our denominator tells us that there's 1 section in between 0 and 1. It's already there. So let's label this guy. 1/1, 2/1, 3/1, 4/1, 5/1, 6/1, 7/1, 8/1. Oh, why do I always do that? 8/1, 9/1, 10/1. And so we were looping in 5/1. Let's do it. 1 section, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's our target number, 5/1. Number 10. We are looking at our denominator. So how many sections have to be in between each whole number? 2 equal sections in between each whole number. So I'm going to get that set up. There, we've got 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm just doing the best I can to be accurate here. And now we're going to label each section. So we've got 0, 1/2, 2/2, or 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6, 6 halves, 7 halves, 8 halves, 9 halves, 10 halves. Please don't forget that you can pause the video anytime and go back as you need to. My target number is 6/2, so I want to circle 6 sections, 6 of these equal sections, or 6 halves. So let's do it. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves. And there's our target number, 6 halves. Hopefully, so far, so good. And we've been looking at these numbers as fractions up to this point that are greater than 1 on this page. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about these mixed numbers here. We already looked at the definition on mathisfun.com. And on this section, we're going to look at it again. A fraction greater than 1 that cannot be named as a whole number. So you can't name it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. It can be named as what we called a mixed number. And so mixed numbers, just like we saw earlier, have a whole number part and a fraction part that work together as what we call a mixed number, because part is whole and part is not whole. So here are some more examples over here. 1 and 1/2, 3 and 2/3, 4 and 2/4. On this problem here, we have kind of a fill in the blank thing that we got going on. So let's take a look at this. And this is number 11 here. Even though it doesn't look like an 11, it is number 11. So we've got 5/4. Now what we're going to do is we're going to deconstruct this and we're going to pull it apart. We can rewrite this as 4/4 plus 1/4, because we know that 4 plus 1 gave us that 5. But another way for us to think about 4/4 is that it equals 1. Do you guys see that right here? 4/4 is the same thing as 1 whole. And so instead of writing it as 4/4, we're going to write it as a whole number 1. But this fraction part can't be written as a whole number. So we are going to leave it as a fraction, 1/4. Now in math, you remember me telling you that sometimes mathematicians, we're lazy. We like to take shortcuts where we can. So when we have 1 and 1/4, we don't need to write the plus sign. It's implied that it goes together in a mixed number. So 1 plus 1/4 is going to be written as 1, 1/4. 1 and 1/4. It's implied that they're being added together. That's why they're called a mixed number. Let's take a look at this example here. So we've got 8/3. So 3/3, which is also 1, plus 3/3, which is also 1, actually equal 6. How many more thirds do we need to have represented in this box right here to total 8? Well, let's count up from 6. 6, 7, 8. 2. We need to have 2 more thirds represented there. Now, let me use a different color. That doesn't seem to be showing up so well with the blue box. 2/3. Well, when we rewrite the 3/3 as 1 down there, we know that this 2/3 isn't going to change because it's a fraction part. It has to stay a fraction part. So 1 plus 1 instead of 3/3 plus 3/3 is represented down there, but 2/3 stays the same. What is 1 plus 1? Hopefully you said 2. And then we're going to keep the fraction part with it for a mixed number of 2 and 2/3. Now let's keep looking here, and I think I'm going to zoom in to make it a little bit easier for me to write on this. We've got 8/6, right? And so for 8/6, I'm zooming. Let's pull it apart. How, if my denominator is 6, to make 1, my numerator has to be the same as my denominator. So for my numerator, it has to be 6. That is how we got 1. So if I have 6/6 here, how many more do I have to represent here to total 8? Let's count up from 6. 6, 7, 8. Hopefully you said 2. Well, 6/6 becomes 1 whole, but 2/6 cannot change. So it's going to stay as a fraction. And when we write this mixed number without the addition sign, it looks like this: 1 and 2/6. And of course, it's implied that they are being added. We just don't need to write it because we know now that this is what a mixed number is: a whole part and a fraction part. All right. If you need a break, pause at any time. Oh boy, look at all that we've got to do here. Okay, page 251. Our goal here is to find where the 1 is. Notice on my number line, it is not listed. You are going to use this unit fraction and you are going to estimate where to put the other points so you could put the number 1 where you believe it best fit goes. So divide each number line into the correct unit fractions, label each point, then locate 1 on the number line. Okay, well, if I look at this unit fraction, I know my denominator is 4. And when my denominator and my numerator match, it is going to give us the number 1. So we are looking to find 4/4. So I'm going to try to place a line or divide another segment to get 2/4. I think right there looks okay. So there's 2/4. Now I'm going to keep going to find 3/4. 3/4, and one more that gives us 4/4, or we're locating that number 1 on the number line. And so this is where our 1 is here. Let's look at number 13. Our unit fraction has a denominator of 3. So I know in between 0 and 1, I would need 3 different sections. And because my denominator is 3, my numerator has to match so that it equals 1. So if that's 1/3, I'm going to estimate that right here is 2/3, which makes about right here 3/3, which is also the number 1. Number 14. Let's take a look at that denominator. Oh, lovely. Number 14's denominator is also 3. And we already know that 3/3 is what we're looking for to equal 1. Well, this is 2/3. The next one after 2/3 is going to be about 3/3. And if you notice right here, I am about lined up with where I estimated on 13. So if I use number 13 to kind of help me, I think that that is about right. And again, we are trying to find 1. So it would really be in the same place, wouldn't it? Because our denominator was 3. So we've got 1 there and 1 there on 14. Not a whole lot of different placement. There's 1, there's 1. Okay, 15. Ooh, my denominator is a 6. Ooh, I don't like that. Which means between 0 and 1, there have to be 6 equal parts. But I know that 9 over 6 is a number that is greater than 1. Well, I really am not sure how big the piece has to go. But I'm going to maybe go backwards on this one. For 15, I think I'm going to maybe do this. 9, 8, 6, 7, 6. Oops. 6, 6, 5, 6, 4, 6, 3, 6, 2, 6, and then 1, 6. There is definitely not equal spacing there, is there? Well, I'm just going to actually leave it, but I know that these are not necessarily equal sections. You know what? No, I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to back it up, and I'm going to make my sections a little bit more equal. I'm going to try harder. So I'm going to erase that, and I'm actually going to change my font size, my drawing size. So 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a little bit better, isn't it? So 7, 6, 6, 6, 5, 6. I'm labeling my points. 4, 6, 3, 6, 2, 6, and 1, 6. Now my denominator is a 6. So if my denominator is 6, that means my numerator has to be the same number for it to equal 1. Let's find where my denominator and my numerator match. I see right here is where 1 is. And that's what we were doing, is we were locating 1. And I see right about there is where 6 over 6 is. All right, 11 over 4. Ugh, again, I think I'm going to work backwards with this one. But I know that my denominator 4 is smaller than 6. And I know that it kind of works in opposite. So the larger the denominator, the smaller the pieces. So I think my fourths are going to be just a little bit larger than what I have here. So I'm going to count back from 11 to 0 and try to make them equal sections here. So 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Nope, that did not work, did it? Oh. Are you going to let me erase or no? So let's try again. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, not perfect, but I think I feel better about my effort on 16 when I erased and retried. So my denominator is 4. I am looking for when my denominator and my numerator are the same, because we know that that equals 1. So let's label our points. 10 over 4, 9 over 4, 8 over 4, 7 over 4, 6 over 4, 5 over 4, 4 over 4. We know that's going to be 1, don't we? 3 over 4, 2 over 4, and 1 over 4. And then obviously that's 0 there. So let's plot our number 1 at 4 over 4 right here. That is where 1 is. So we've got 1 right there. And I've made a fancy one to show you. Okay. So let's talk about this. How did we locate 1 for exercise 15? Well, if you remember when I did this, we first remembered that our denominator and our numerator have to match to equal 1. And so our denominator is 6, so we were looking for 6 over 6. But because we had no idea how big these sections were, we had to estimate. And so I started here at the front and I worked my way backward. I don't know if I erased on that one or just 16, but we started at the beginning and worked our way backward to estimate. Let me type that in there for you. Oh, what did I spell wrong? Sometimes I do it. I love that little red line. So I started at the 9 over 6 and worked backwards. I did not know how big to make the equal pieces, so I worked backwards. If you have a better way, let me know. Okay, let's move on. 252. We're almost at the end. We're going to find fractions. Oh, they don't have the 1 on here again. Divide each number line into the correct unit fractions, then label each point. Use loops to show the target fraction. And here's our target fraction. Now, wait a minute here. This denominator is a 4, but this denominator is a 2. Oh boy. Well, I remember up above when we had to have 2 different denominators represented. If this is 1/2, I am going to estimate, I am going to estimate that 1 is about right here. 2/2 or 1 are about right there. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to divide between 0 and 1 into 4 sections because that's what our target fraction is asking for. It's asking for 4 equal parts. So 1, 2, 3, and we've got 4 equal parts. 1 part, 2 part, 3 parts, 4 parts. So let's label this here. I've got 1/4, 2/4, there's 3/4, and we know that that's 2/2, but we also know that it's 4/4, which also equals 1. Well, since we're looping to show that target fraction of 3/4, here we go. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Whew, that one took a little thinking, didn't it? Looks like we're going to have to do that a couple more times down here. Number 19, between 0 and we've got 10 over 6. Well, I'm happy to see that my denominator is a 6 right here. And so I'm going to work backwards again, just like we did before. Okay, so you can see that I have made equal segments, and I started at 10 and I counted back to 0 because I know that I wanted different segments that represent sixths, but I know that I didn't know where 1 was. I only knew where 0 was. So I counted from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That's the strategy that I used to make my line segments here, to divide this number line into the correct unit fractions. I then went in and I labeled each point. Now I'm going to use a loop to represent the target fraction that we're being asked to identify. And 5/6 is the target fraction that we are being asked to identify. Because my numerator is less than my denominator, I know that it's going to be underneath 1. It's between 0 and 1. Better way to say that there. So let's loop 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is our target number of 5/6. It matches. Okay. Oh, number 20 is another one that it's asking us to have 2 different denominators. Well, I know if this is 1/4, the next one is going to be 2/4, and then 3/4, and then 4/4 here. But that's not what they're asking us to target. They're asking us to target eighths. So I'm going to use the fact that this is 1 right here. That's the number 1. Then let me go ahead and actually relabel that there, that this is 1. And I know that this is also equal to, and if we use our denominator here, it's also equal to 8/8. So I know my denominator says I don't need 4 equal sections. I need 8 equal sections. So I'm going to go in and I am going to add some number lines in there to make 8 equal sections. Okay, so I've gone in and I have created 8 equal sections, not 4 equal sections, because my target number, my target fraction is 3/8. I've labeled them 1/8, 2/8, which is also 1/4, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, which is also where our 1 is. My target fraction is 3/8. So now I'm going to circle, I'm going to loop to show that target fraction. I know I switched colors on you here. 1, 2, 3. So I've looped to show the target fraction of 3/8, which is right here. Okay. Number 21 is another case of denominators that are different. So we have sixths here, not thirds. So I'm going to first try to find where 1 is. Well, if that's 7/6, I know that 1 has to have the same denominator that we have right here. So I'm going to look, where's 6/6? Maybe right around here. So if this is 6/6, that would be where the number 1 is. Now that I've located 1, oh no, that won't work because 5/3 is greater than 1. Let's try that again. Let's just go ahead and let's just go in and number them into sixths.